This is BBC One, and now it's time for the 9 o'clock news, introduced by Trevor Burke. Mayday over the skies of Heathrow. A British Airways jumbo jet is forced to make a dramatic emergency landing at Heathrow Airport. The Prime Minister has been accused of perhaps not telling the truth, and most of Parliament seems to agree. Is speed being glorified on our big screens? A report today comes out that may prove otherwise. And it was an indifferent night for English clubs in the UEFA Cup. Good evening. An emergency landing took place today at London Heathrow Airport. A Boeing 747 jumbo jet, owned and run and leased by British Airways, had to make an emergency landing after two of the engines were caught on fire. The dramatic footage was caught on amateur video, and there was a report that there were no serious casualties. Trevor Williams takes up the story. It started off as any normal day at Heathrow Airport, planes flying in and out and absolutely calm and precise the way in which Heathrow operates. Then the disaster Mayday call arrived, and suddenly approaching was this. These are dramatic pictures of the Boeing 747 making its emergency approach into Heathrow Airport. Amazingly, all pilot, crew and passengers, not a single serious injury on board. The plane itself was praised by the pilot for making an astonishing last-minute landing. Well, all I could do was realise that with the lack of thrust you get from the two planes on fire, it's just getting the plane down as quickly as possible. And I'd spoken with my first officer, Goose, and we've basically brought the plane in as quickly as we could, and the worst part is the engines dig into the runway and it flips us, but it's amazing that plane was held together. It was just built so well. Some have said that potentially it was caused by an incident involving British intelligence, as it has been announced recently that there were some criminal escapades available. Well, I simply think that's not true. There were a couple of people available on the plane that were unaccounted for. At the moment, we here at British Intelligence Services are unable to comment on this, but what we are delighted for is nobody on board the plane was shaken or stirred as a result of the landing. Well, after all that excitement this afternoon, Heathrow slowly started returning back to normal. Behind me you can hear the Concorde getting ready to take off for its evening flight over to JFK Airport. The damage to the runway was actually very minimal, and Heathrow has been able to operate through a single runway today, so it has caused some severe delays, and they have said to do that. And if you can just hear behind me, you'll be able to hear the Concorde taking off, which is always a mesmeric sight. The owners, at least of British Airways, have said today that they very much do think that things will go back to normal. This was a one-off incident, and they don't anticipate anything happening like that again. Trevor Williams, BBC News. The Prime Minister was in trouble today after making a speech outside 10 Downing Street in which he was criticised for potentially not telling the truth. The Prime Minister's response was clear for everyone to see, and the Leader of the Opposition, Trevor Blair MP for the Labour Party, has challenged him to put it online for a general election. We went ahead and taken up the story. The Prime Minister said in his speech this morning today that not once has a single politician in the history of politics and the entire history of the world ever once failed to not tell the truth. No, I 100% stick by it and will do so, and I will stand by it that I have not lied in the slightest. I have told the whole truth and nothing but it, and I have never once spun a situation or done anything to suggest that I'm not telling the truth. Well, I completely disagree. I think that what he's saying isn't true, because that party, we know, does not tell the truth. This party does tell the truth, and we don't ever lie, and we will never lie to you. in the future if you elect us later on. Well, after all this in place, we went ahead and spoke to the MP for Staines, and I put it to him that potentially inside the Houses of Parliament there is some lying that takes place.
Well, I put it to you that you sucked off a horse.
We're still yet to comment on everyone else involved in the story. Now, is speed glorifying more accidents on our roads? That's what some people have said today, where a brand new organisation, Together Others Stopping Speeding Everyday Regulators, has been formed to go ahead and to stop speeders. Apparently influences such as what's been seen on Trev Gear can be a compatible story. Trev Stoddard takes up the story. Just a normal motoring show in which you're having your car reviewed. Apparently not. Apparently these are glorifying speed and is causing people to have accidents and crashes and is endangering the youth. The glamorization and Hollywoodization, as it's been called, of speed on our screens. Yes, I do think that there's lots of speeding that happens after the result of shows like Trev Gear, and we here at Together Others Stopping Speeding Everyday Regulators, or TOSSA as we prefer to be called, believe that all these shows should be banned. Some have said it's the rise of the video of speeding chases released by the police, which is glorifying at the moment. The latest video, Crash Bang Wallop What a Video, itself has been causing a huge stir online. But apparently those that are in the industry disagree. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. There's just no proof whatsoever under any circumstances that speed kills. And I've said this for years. It's suddenly stopping that does. Well, the one thing is to do, there are no plans at the moment here at the BBC to cancel Trev Gear, so we can expect to see that in the future, but will we see more of these unregulated police chase videos? Trev Stoddard, BBC News. The UEFA Cup qualifying drew to a close today with 4 British clubs in contention. The story of the 2 of them coming up right here. Arsenal knew that after trailing 3-2 in the first legs to Borussia Mönchengladbach, they needed a good start to get a hold in the game. But it wasn't to be. A brilliant passing move finished in the end by Dahlin, the Swedish striker that tormented England just 6 years ago in the European Championships. His strike was too good and able to beat David Seaman and get them the priceless away goal. Highbury hoped that they could go ahead and drive the team forward, but in the second half it wasn't to be. They found themselves 2 goals down and effectively ended the tie. Jasoriak's effort struck the post, and it was Dahlin that reacted quicker than anyone else in the area and was able to poke the ball home. Arsenal themselves, they were able to get a foothold back in the game as the second half progressed. Ray Parlour's cross was met in by the end by the header of Klingert, but he happened to hesitate. Patrick Vieira did not, and that gave Arsenal hope. But in the end, it wasn't enough for them. Mönchengladbach go through to the UEFA Cup proper. Arsenal out of Europe before the competition has started properly. Newcastle United were also a side chasing 4-0 from their first leg game, and they needed a quick start. And luckily, they've got England captain Alan Shearer. His strike absolutely blew the roof off the stadium of St James's Park and got Newcastle to a flying start. And in the thoroughly dominant performance that they had, it was 2. David Ginola providing an excellent cross for Alan Shearer to arrive and toe poke the ball home to make it 2. In the second half, Newcastle United were able to get a 3rd goal. Asprilla on for Alan Shearer. Ferdinand, well, he had just too much pace and power and was able to get his finish in the near post. And in the end, things would get even better for Newcastle United. 2 minutes from time, Asprilla's shot from outside the box made it 4-0. As a result, Newcastle United are comfortable winners in the end, 7-3 on aggregate, and move through to the UEFA Cup proper. Trev Bonnet, BBC News. Well, here are all the results from the qualifying. So Liverpool beat Finnish side Maipai 3-1 to go 4-1 through on aggregate. Confirmation Arsenal are out of the UEFA Cup after losing at home and going out 5-3 on aggregate. Newcastle United go ahead and beat Ferencváros by 6-3 in the end on aggregate. And Heisenberg held Aston Villa to a 0-0 draw. After the 1-0 draw, they go through on away goals. So finally back to our main story today. A dramatic emergency landing taking place at Heathrow today. captain of flight 19906, Pete Mitchell, crediting the strength of the plane and the fact it held, and denying here that British intelligence didn't throw out any bad guys that accidentally got stuck in the engines. Of course, that would never happen, wouldn't it? From all of us here, though, have a lovely evening, and bye-bye. Well, after all that drama, I suppose what we want is some nice calm weather and a good honest weather prediction. But don't worry, we're not going to do that here at the Met Office. I can inform tonight, though, that in some areas, particularly across the Midlands and Northern England, you could see some rain, some thunders. Potentially some areas over Wrexham could see some snow. The south of England should remain relatively dry. As for tomorrow in the end, well, it's going to be beautifully sunny over the county of Hampshire. Of course it is, that's where Trevor Sports HQ is. As for the rest of the country, we haven't got a bloody clue. We've just guessed where we think it is. We think it may snow, potentially up north and thunder and all sorts of places. And as for the rest of the week, well, we're predicting beautifully sunny weathers again over Hampshire, and it's either going to be cloudy, raining or sunny around the rest of the country. But heck, at least there won't be a hurricane.